I come from an organization which is a pan-India organization. We work in 15 states. We are focusing primarily on livelihoods, but increasingly the focus is on creating more resilient livelihoods. So we are looking at livelihoods, farming systems, livestock development, natural resource management, and because of our presence in across the country, we have also been witness and participant in dealing with many of the shock events that have been occurring with increasing frequency in the last couple of decades. So I will draw a lot upon our experience in developing good production systems which are resilient, as well as our experience with the calamitous events that have taken place over the last 2 decades. Most of you will remember that there has been about 15 years back a super cyclone which hit Orissa, eastern India. Then there was the tsunami, which of course traveled right up to the shores of India, and the eastern coast got a battering. And then there was a major earthquake in West India, in Gujarat, which also claimed a lot of lives. Those were about 15 years roughly back, calamities which I think worldwide we were still getting ready to cope with events of this type. And we had experience there that within a few hours of the event taking place, the communities which were not affected but from the same areas had already galvanized themselves into action. We had communities coming together to start looking at who needed help, to start getting ready for making that help available. We had local organizations coming together into a consortium mode of functioning, and so within a few hours, within 24 hours, we had instances where from communities farther away, relief had already started flowing. There people had collected supplies, people had gathered volunteers, and people were moving already to the affected areas within 24 hours. All this was community-led response. For the first 1 or 2 days, with these 3 calamities which I am mentioning, the local governments were paralyzed. They were stunned, stupefied, didn't know what to do and how to start. So we had a situation where that type of a paralysis, but still a galvanized community action was something which had already got triggered off. What I wanted to point out is whether it is local communities, whether it is NGOs, whether it is civil society, the community-led action and the institutions at that level are an indispensable part of any governance of these type of shocks. So that is something which is very crucial. But of course that alone is not sufficient. We had 3 other calamitous events in the last few years. One was another cyclone which struck Orissa, a cyclone which was anticipated a few days in advance because there was an early warning system already in place. The whole country was waiting for it to strike, literally. And we had a situation where the entire coastline of Orissa, which is dotted with cyclone shelters today, and there was a massive evacuation plan of 1 million people moved out 24 hours before the cyclone was to strike. Such a massive evacuation plan effectively administered by the government because there was an early warning system in place, there was cyclone shelters already built up, so there was a lot of preparation that had gone in, which had a possibility only when it is done at a regional level. So we are talking of community level actions which are at the grassroots. We are talking of the local administrations which also need to be galvanized, and we are talking of a regional, national or global level of preparatory action which can also. So the governance is required at all these 3 levels. The governance has to be seamless at all these 3 levels. If it is not seamless, then there is mismatch and there are problems. So the first point I want to make is that it is important to recognize the role of governance at these 3 levels and to ensure that there is a seamless orchestration that takes place. But the most important of all this is the community level institutions that I would still maintain, because it is like the roots of all action. And if you don't have the roots and if you only have the superstructure, with the next cyclone the superstructure will be blown away. So we need to have that community. So that is the role of community institutions. I will also refer to our experience with community institutions, not only in responding to shocks, but as we have been talking about since last 2 days, that it is not only shocks which require a resilient action, but there are also a lot of stress build up which also lead to problems, for which also there is a lot of resilience oriented action that is required, and there is a preparatory action required. In India, we have massive programs for natural resource management that popularly called as watershed development programs, though the scope is increasingly much beyond soil and water conservation. These watershed programs have now increasingly over the last 10-15 years transitioned from being technical programs implemented by government departments to community-centered programs where the entire planning is done at the community level, what we call as watershed committees, watershed development committees. So it is this community level institution which is involved very strongly in planning, in implementing, in managing the post-project actions relating to things like watershed development. Now what we have now started, and my organization is involved in initiating this approach now in a number of places, is that not only do the soil and water conservation, but also start preparing for the uncertainties which are increasingly becoming common. We have therefore ways in which you need to do a number of things like creating strategic reserves. Now, strategic reserves is not something that is only created at a global level or at a national level. We have that also. We have food stocks. In India, we have buffer stocks of food grain, which are tens of millions of tons and which are still served us in good stead. But there is also need for creating strategic reserves at community levels. And therefore, there are a lot of places where communities have started galvanizing, mobilizing into building food banks, building seed banks, even having strategic reserves of water. Because no longer are we sure whether next year is going to be the same as far as water availability is concerned and this year. Because the trends that existed at one time are no longer valid. Things vary so suddenly. So they are even maintaining strategic reserves of water in the form of groundwater. So they will have rules and regulations on how the groundwater is to be used, how it is not to be used, based on the projections for the next year. They will say, okay, now no more, this we keep for the next year. So this is the way in which management of strategic reserves also is an approach that needs to be introduced, not only at the higher levels, but also at the community level. And that is what we are working on. There is also a very important role communities play in identifying the most vulnerable, whether it is the poorest, whether it is the single women-headed households, whether it is people who have gone through calamities, like we have a lot of suicides by farmers. That has caught attention everywhere. Now, identifying all these is something which cannot be possible for a provincial government. It is something which has to be done by the locals. And in India, we are also putting in place and strengthening a system by which community participation and identifying these, so that those who are missed out their names will get added on into the list. They will get identified. So whatever is the target groups that have been identified already, those are not static. They are open to correction by community action. And that role, that involvement of the communities is very crucial. And that will be equally important when we are talking of resilient systems, which will be inclusive and which will, really focus on. So the social capital that we have been talking of since last 2 days, I think the social capital, which is going to be the base of any coping mechanisms the world needs, will strongly be in the form of community institutions who are involved in local governance, who are involved in buffering actions, and therefore the community processes that make all this possible need to be an important agenda of any resilience building activity. My organization has also been involved in working on a number of modifications that are required in production systems. For example, from moving to seasonal cropping to combination of perennial and seasonal cropping, what is popularly called agroforestry, but we look at it as much beyond that. It is agroforestry and it is horticulture and it is livelihoods based on all this out of the same farm. So that yesterday there was a presentation on the 1 acre fund. We have a program which is taking this type of an integrated farming system development, almost 200,000 families, where the resilience that it brings, you have a variety of crops, you have including the tree crops, you have a variety of livelihood options that are coming out of that same 1 acre. So you have a basket of opportunities. If one fails, the other is there. So it is not an insurance which is only given as an insurance scheme by an insurance company. It is how you build in insurance in your own production setup, which is equally important. So insurance takes different forms also. So yeah, I think I am almost done. So just to come to the last point of accountability. When you have these type of community roots, it is possible to have a transparency-based accountability, because then you are involving the community in identifying the target groups, and not only that, the government is obliged in many of our programs to declare to the community in a public reporting format. So there is public reporting done within the village of the programs, the expenditure, the coverage, the beneficiaries. So that type of accountability to be brought in, along with aspects of response time, along with the inclusivity and all, also makes an important aspect of for the accountability. So just ending up with a recap, seamless governance at 3 levels is very crucial. Community institutions are a very important sheet anchor of any resilience action, and the participatory methods that can be brought about through such community institutions are indispensable, and these community institutions can be networked to provide a solid bulwark against shocks. And accountability again through these mechanisms is something which becomes very crucial. Thank you.